What's up, guys? It's Friday night. We're back to bitching. Back to usual. I hope everybody had a good week. Had a satisfying week. A little frustrating, but got through some stuff that's been hanging around a little bit. And I mean, it's gonna happen. Stuff stacked up. I made a few mistakes, and we're through it. Made a video a few weeks ago in response to the tech shortage video posted by the CEO of Ford, Jim Farley. Kind of wanted to dive into that a little bit more. There's a lot to unpack there. A couple things from my experience as a tech that I think are the most off-putting, especially to someone looking to come into this. The biggest one for me was tools. The biggest thing that made me want to leave the industry was the cost of tools and the cost of staying current. I'm in a shop now where I'm not encouraged to buy tools. If we need something, I'm encouraged to let my boss know about it and the shop will cover it. That hasn't been the case for the previous 20 some odd years of my career. Any tools I needed, any equipment I needed, it was my responsibility. Short of lifts, tire equipment, stuff like that, that was on me to get. And I did a lot, way too much in my opinion. Back in the day, you go back 20, 25 years, there was a huge difference in Craftsman, Mac, Matco, Snap-on, Cornwell, SK. You had different price points, but you got what you paid for. Snap-on wrenches back in the day, they were the best by a long shot. Flank Plus, you were not beating that off any of the other trucks. Same thing with the ratchets. Matco and Snap-on have gone back and forth on ratchets, and they've always been top tier. No one else could match them for tooth count, holding. There were lots of different things that played into that. You also paid exponentially more if you went with one of the truck brands. You could always go to Craftsman from Sears or down to Home Depot or Lowe's, get the house brand, and they do the job. The reason I've never really argued or had an issue paying tool truck prices is the service. It's not the name on the tool, it's the fact they come to me every week. But that gulf doesn't really have as much of an existence anymore. If you go to the Icon stuff from Harbor Freight, it's way cheaper than Snap-on, Mac, Matco, any of the other brands, and it holds up. Most of the differences now are aesthetic. There's some ergonomic differences, but you can get into this phenomenally cheaper than you used to be able to tool-wise. Do I think tech should be buying all their tools? No, not all. I think a basic set should be on the tech or worked out through some sort of apprenticeship program where the shop will cover it, and after a certain period of time, they become the tech, something like that. That I don't have an issue with. Day-to-day stuff we break all the time, I still think that should be on us. But when it comes to who's buying the major stuff, the scan tools, the scopes, the specialty tools, I feel like should be on the shop. I say that as I still buy a lot of it myself, and I do catch a fair amount of hell over it, and rightfully so. I don't like using other people's tools. I feel like I haven't earned it. If that may be some weird thing with me, but I feel like that's our skin in the game as techs, our equipment and our tooling. It's also, if I bought it and I kept track of it and took care of it, I know where it is, I know everything's there. There is nothing more frustrating than going to do a fuel pressure test and you're missing 3 adapters out of the shop kit, right? Or an oil pressure test, anything. There's a lot of ways that can be done without the tech laying out everything for it. A new tech coming into this making $600-800 a week, who's spending $300 of that a week on tools. How far ahead is he getting? He's kind of staying in debt, holding even, or just going deeper into debt. He's going to be paying that on the tool truck for the next 10 years. So I think there's got to be some give and take there, but I think the shops that are providing tools can definitely work out plenty of ways to do it where the tech gets the tools, the tech isn't out the money or isn't out as much. There's a 50-50, something like that. Some sort of program where the techs can build their tool catalog and build their toolbox, be able to do the work and not have to financially destroy themselves. Very guilty of that myself. The other thing from the shop side is there's got to be a justification for those tools. Even for the tech, there's got to be a justification for the tool. There's got to be some sort of return on that investment. And in a lot of cases, those investments can be significant. Out of my own pocket, I've got laptops, J-boxes, interfaces, software, and just basic scan tools that is a big chunk of that expense. It's all stuff that's made me money. Same with the LabScope. When I first got it, I plugged it into everything because I wanted to justify it. The amount of time it saved me as I've learned how to use it more effectively, you can't really put a price on that. More than paid for itself. When it comes to scan tools, scopes, J-boxes, interfaces, software, that's got to be on the shop. It's a ton of expense. And somebody coming into this who wants to, move into electronics or electrical, which is where everything is heading. Starting your guys off with anything other than electrical, I think, is doing them a disservice, and it's doing you a disservice. Everything that we do, even basic stuff like brakes, it's all based around electricity. There's electronic controls on everything now. So we've got to understand those electronic systems before we can really go into repairing the mechanical side, right? Can't really deal with a brake proportioning issue if you don't know where that brake proportioning is happening. Because I haven't seen a combo valve or a prop valve in, it's been a minute. It's all done by the ABS module or the VSC module now. Same thing with training. You can train on technical stuff, and we need to. We need to do a lot of it to stay current. You've also got to train the mentality. You've also got to build up that critical thinking mentality, that diagnostic mindset that is taught so eloquently by a number of guys. You've got to be able to think systemically. You can't think chasing the symptom. I did that this week and it burned me. I did it a couple weeks ago. It burned me this week. You've got to think through it, and then you've got to test through it. The other big thing that I think drives people out is work-life balance. This industry is notorious and has for a very long time had little to no work-life balance. We are, the guys that I know and myself are pretty committed to their jobs, are pretty committed to their shops, and that tends to drive us to spend a ton of time at the shop. I have worked countless weeks, literally every day of the week for months on end, trying to keep up. We had that much volume, and it's a good problem to have, but trying to keep up, trying to stay ahead of the influx that comes in every day. We have 10 come in every day and 6 leave. It stacks up quickly. It's not all that. It's not all solid work. I mean, there was a lot of research. There was a lot of trying to make things more efficient, trying to improve things. It's very easy to get sucked into spending 12, 14 hours a day at the shop and then wondering where all the time went. I myself am very bad about that. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, my instinct is to go and work and work and work and work and push as hard as I can to get through what I have so I can get a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. With what I do, that's not usually the case. I mean, there's always going to be more broken stuff there than I can keep up with. Again, it's the right problem to have, but it really can wear you down quickly. There are other costs associated with that, primarily family. If you have a family and you're working like that, it's really hard on them, and that doesn't get acknowledged a lot. I see my job is to provide food, provide a roof, provide clothing, provide whatever my family needs. I negate my own personal time there with them because there's a lot of other stuff as a provider that I need to provide. And it's not just material stuff, and that's what I get hung up on. At the end of the day, there's a lot of reasons to be very nervous about this industry. There's more reasons to be positive and excited about it. We're heading in a lot of new directions. Technologically, we're heading in a lot of new directions with overall philosophy of the way the cars are designed, what they're designed to do, how they're designed to do it. All of that is changing. I think that's a really cool thing. It's a really exciting thing. It's a very positive thing. Like when we went from carburetors to EFI, we're doing that again, but we're doing it much more drastically. We're not changing one system now, we're changing the entire medium. Cars in general are changing drastically, and everything about them is changing, and there's a lot to keep up with. But it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it, or we wouldn't still be here. Take it easy, guys. We'll see you next week.